there guys, TMO73 here, bringing you another feature match for the day. I am playing the red-white Arla list, typically known as Red Arla. This list was coined, made popular by Force of Will Tavern, and Josh is playing his mono-black Vlad list, slightly tweaked from the list that he used to take first place at our states in Michigan. So we're right into it already. So I start off with the bow, Artemis the God's bow. Getting those 4 counters, and I play Guinevere first turn. So a bow from Josh's side. He attempts to stunning to death my Guinevere, and I respond by sacking. Just go ahead and sacking the Guinevere to get the draw power out of it. It's important to try to get those Gwens off the board as fast as possible, but thankfully, you can always typically respond to it. So I come out swinging with Lancelot, swings in for 600, and Josh has no way to stop that. So Soul Hunt comes out from Josh. This is a very, very powerful card. I have to lose the Lancelot, and I have to discard a card, and he just has to discard 1 card. So he just discards a 0, but he's gotten rid of one of my creatures, and he still has those 2 stones up. So I hit a little red myself. And I throw out another Lancelot, and I attempt to swing in. And we see that another Stoning to Death come out. And then I don't give him the satisfaction, so I use Levitine to sack Levitine's effect to sack the Lancelot in response to the Stoning to Death. I go ahead and throw out a Guinevere with my other thing to try to set myself up. Moving over to Josh. He's got a Mount Immortal, an Arthur, and a 0. He goes ahead and commits to the Mount Immortal. So now everything that isn't a Darkness Resonator is going to lose 200 attack and defense, just permanently. At this point, I'm really kind of drawing dead, so I go ahead and just sack the Guinevere off the top to try and draw into something new. Typically, it's not what you would want to do. You'd want to, keep the Guinevere around for as long as possible, but I already know that now that Mount Immortals come out, I already know that Rook eggs and stuff like that are just going to immediately be sacked, or immediately destroyed. So I need to draw into something more powerful. So Arla's coming out. Does have swiftness, so that's going to be 1100 damage because of the Levitine pump that I used during the upkeep. And I decided to pass for that. So the thing about Josh's deck is it has this weird kind of play style where typically you play more often during your opponent's turn than your own. It's very reactionary, for good reason. It does a lot of work with lots of different removal spells and stuff like that. So you see, I play the Percival knowing that it's immediately going to die, just so that I can get the search. So I see Levitine, Rook Egg. I'm like, oh wait, I can't grab Rook Egg with it. So I grab Hector, because I have a Lancelot in my hand already. So I paid 2 to play Lancelot. Or I thought I was going to play 2. I'll go ahead and try to swing in for the 1100. See a Void Blast, a 0, and an Arthur in Josh's hand. So he could flash in the 0, but he decides just to take the damage. So that puts him down to... I actually go ahead and respond to the no blocks by pumping again, so 1300 damage. Putting him down to a grand. and then I throw out the Lancelot. And go ahead and commit to the Hector. So in response, he flashes in the 0. He flashes in the 0, which then will immediately kill the Hector because there's a -4/-4 board state. So I attempt to swing in with a Lancelot, and I forget that his defense has been reduced to 200, and so the bow is enough to kill him because Hector only boosts the attack. So you see there's a quick drain there with his remaining 2 will. It's the thing about Vlad. I mean, you saw it in the mono green deck. You can just use it as a floater, a sink for the rest of your will. He decides to commit to an Arthur. Now all darkness creatures are going to get +2/+2, and everything that isn't darkness. That's a resonator gets -2/-2, or gets -2/-2. So now there's a permanent -4/-4 board state. So when he attacks in with 0 to try to kill my Arla, I use my bows to make sure that it becomes a trade, so that 0 is now off the board. And now I'm in a position where I have to try and make some stuff happen. So Snow White Valkyrie. Again, this is where things get kind of tricky for me. So I use the Flame King Shout to pull out the Valkyrie, and I try to swing in. But again, it has a -4 board state, so a bow is enough to deal lethal. And so I tap for stone and pass the turn. So I'm now sitting at no cards in hand. I have Arla. I have no Levitine, and Josh is in a pretty good position here. He swings in for an easy grand worth of damage. And then plays another bow and passes to me. I pretty much at this point have to play Arla. And have to pass at that point. Problem is, though, again, because that mana sink, he uses the little redstone to pump up Arthur even more, and then uses his remaining 6 to do a quick 6-point drain and gain with Vlad. So again, it seems like I have taken too long, and things are not going to go my way. So he attempts to swing in for 12. Try and do, I know he's a 12/12, so there's 800 damage, and then I try to Thunder. And then he just pumps with Little Red in response, so now Arthur's a 14/14. So it's just outside of the damage that I'm going to take and able to do, and he deals 14 damage to me. And I know that I'm just done at that point, so I pass. So I just scoop and we go to game 2. First turn Rook Egg with double bow. Pretty strong opening. The problem is those bows aren't super helpful for myself because Josh doesn't really play a lot of resonators. See his own bow come out. Another quick 600-point swing with Lancelot. Passes the turn to me, which is, pretty standard for him. He has lots of play lines available. He decides to do, he takes the 600 damage and then decides to use a 200 points drain with Vlad. And then again, he just draws, untaps everything, and passes the turn. So here's a really good play. I try and swing in with the Lancelot, and he plays Endless Night, which gives 6, kills something, and then puts a -2/-2 board state. so immediately kills my rook eggs as well. So I actually used the double rook egg to search for Guinevere and rook egg again. I know I can't play the rook egg this turn, but because it'll just immediately die, but I can at least set up the Guinevere to be able to make something happen next turn, because the Guinevere will not be killed. However, I decide to not do that, even though that would be the smarter play, and I try to get some damage in by playing the Snow White, the Valkyrie of Passion, and swinging in for 500 damage. And then he just soul hunts me. So in the end, it worked out because he would have just soul hunted the Guinevere, and I was able to get a little more damage in. But still, never like to see your creatures get sacked that easy. There we go. Now I'm trying to set up the Guinevere rook egg play to be able to be better prepared. And he just casts another Endless Night at the end of my turn. And I use the little red stone that I have in my hand to pump up my rook egg so that it doesn't die due to board state from the Endless Night. Because I'm not going to be able to draw, so I want to at least have some kind of a blocker or something like that to set up later. Especially because I appear to only have a Flame King Shout and a Thunder in my hand. See, I drew rid of that Percival. Hoping to see a Levitine so I can get Arthur into play here. So I can get Arla into play here and start doing damage, but I do see the Lancelot. Again, this is the position where I kind of just have to take my lumps because he has all that will to be able to play around with. So here's a unique thing. It's the way this plays out was confusing, and so it looks like I flashed it, like he flashed in 0 and then a shot with bow in the same chase, and so I chased with Artemis to prevent the damage from Lancelot. However, after talking with him, what he did was in response to the attack, he flashed in 0, and then when it moved to declare blockers, then he shot with bow. So Percival would have already been killed by board state because of 0, and then because I didn't respond at that point, and then Lancelot would have been a 4/4, so the bow would be enough to kill him. So very good play, playing around that Percival by Josh. So he does a quick 200-point drain with Vlad. Again, we're getting to that point where I'm running out of time because he's able to start using a mana sink with Vlad and just leave all of his stones open with no real regrets. So I block with the rook egg, and I go ahead and I know I've got to put in a lot of damage really fast, so I go ahead and grab the Gilderay, the Golden Dragon. It's got swiftness. It can get very, very large, very, very fast. It has flying. Very, very impressive creature to work with. So he plays that Arthur. And I respond by using Thunder. And then also in the upkeep, I Demon Flame Arthur. So Thunder, it's been dealt damage by Thunder, and then it's destroyed by Demon Flame because it's taking damage. So I slam down the Gilderay. It's currently an 1800 because I have 5 fire magic stones. Little red doesn't count. So I swing in for 18. I'm wondering if Josh wants to do anything about it. So here's the thing that I could have done there. I could have used my own bow to shoot my own Gilderay after the damage, kill it, bring it back, and swing it again, and it would have been enough for game. I didn't really think about that in the moment, unfortunately. but that is something you can do with Artemis bows. You can, because Artemis bow doesn't declare that it has to be an opponent's resonator with flying, so you can shoot your own Gilderay to kill it, and then bring it back and swing it again. So Josh is able to just do a quick 200 point drain, bring it back up to 11 to 34, still within very much lethal range, and I still have stones to be able to bring back Gilderay, but I only have one card in hand. So either keeping Gilderay alive or drawing into a Levitine puts me in a pretty good spot, provided Josh doesn't drain me for too much life. So he has Dark Pulse, Endless Night, Mephistopheles, Arthur, and Scion of Ancient Lore. So he just decides to pass the turn to me, but again, he can react to things very easily. I play the Percival to try and draw into a Levitine, and there it is. So now I have my Levitine out there. Play the Lave. See an Endless Night come out in response. So I let that happen. Percival is immediately killed. Support state because of the -2/-2. I catch that here in a second. I'm deciding whether or not I want to banish the 3 stones. I do. I bring it back. That Percival is in fact dead. He reminds me of it here in a second. So now the Gilderay is 1200. Actually, it's a 1000, so it will put him down to a grand worth of life. Or it would put him down to 100 life. So he drains 4 in response, and I pump up the Gilderay in response. So he's going to take 1200 damage. He's actually at 300 life at that point. And then I go ahead and tap for the stone. That little red stone is tapped. I don't know why I left it untapped randomly. Playing a little loose on my side. Plays another Carmilla, or plays a Carmilla to just straight up kill my my Gilderay, and I know at this point that his life is so low that it really doesn't matter. So I just let it happen. And he passes to me. So I'm feeling in a pretty good spot at this point. I just drew into a Snow White Valkyrie. So I have 2 options. I can either play into Arla and just swing for the fences, but I actually decided to do something a little different. So I pay 3 to play a Flame King Shout. This is actually the riskiest move I could possibly do, and I don't know why I did this, but in this case it would be much better just to tap 2, flip Arla, and swing in. But I play Flame King Shout, steal 400 damage to everything, and then play Snow White Valkyrie. So she has Swiftness, so she's a 700, 500 with Swiftness. Both of his Resonators now have 400 damage on them, so they are well within kill range of my double bow. And she has First Strike, and she can burn something with her counter. So I think I just burned the Carmilla just outright, just to say even more so, like, don't even try it. And he only had a Dark Pulse in hand. He had no other responses, so he just has to pass and let the attack go through. So I take that one, and we move into game 3. Again, I could have just J-activated Arla, swung in for the fences. There would be no way that he could have drained enough life, and there's no way for him to like do anything, but I know that his list has dark pulses and stuff like that, so I didn't want to put Arla at risk, so I just went with that play instead. So Rook Egg, and typical setup for the deck. Then there's the Stoning to Death. First few turns of these games have been very similar. I'm trying to reset out the life there. See the Artemis bow come out from Josh, and a pass. Just again, it's a very reactionary deck. It's very passive until it gets to the point where you suddenly are just getting drained for 1,000 damage every single turn. So you have to kill this deck very, very quick. So I play a Flame King Shout, even though he doesn't have anything out there, because I want to put that Gareth out onto the field and get swiftness. Unfortunately, he just uses Endless Night in response and kills both the Gareth and the Rook Egg. All I can do is pass. And out comes that Mount Immortal, so now I'm sitting on a -2/-2 permanent board state. So my Rook Eggs, my Guinevere, or my Percivals, all of those are just going to get immediately killed. So Percival immediately gets killed, gets the effect in. See that Artemis come out. I was hoping to see something a little different, maybe a second God's Bow, or maybe a second Levitine, so I can make some more happen. Play the Guinevere. Play the Rook Egg and immediately have it get killed. I know that Gilderai is something that he needs to answer quickly, so I go ahead and search for the Gilderai right now, just so I have that always sitting in my hand. With the new darkness spells that we have available coming out in Twilight Wanderer, especially that 1-drop, look at your opponent's hand, discard a Resonator, Rook Egg, I think it becomes immediately worse, because especially against a darkness deck, because we're like, oh, you searched for something important and didn't play it that turn. 1-drop, get rid of it. So now there's that second Mount Immortal onto the field, and now every single thing that I play onto the field that isn't darkness gets -4/-4. That's a very large setback. So Guinevere's can't even hit the field. Guinevere's are now worthless. So I sack the Guinevere in response to the Mount Immortal to at least get one last draw out of it. So at this point, I pretty much have to commit to my higher drop creatures. Like I Susanoo, which you're going to see me search for here in a second. The Gilderai, Gareth. Like, nothing else can really help me. Lancelot's become 200/200s, which can immediately just be shot by bow. So I'm banking on my boss monsters, and I'm banking on Arla at this point, which is a very hard position to be in for the deck, especially when I already haven't done any damage yet. Alright, 3. 2 Flame King Shout again, and bring in a little Dread. Swing in for 4/4. He tries to shoot it with a bow, and then I pump it up with Little Red, so I'm at least able to get 600 damage in there. So I'm able to make something happen, but then it just goes back to being a 4/4. Very easily to kill for his list. Essentially at this point, if he can get another Arthur onto the field, I'm pretty much done. But you see, again, Soul Hunt, so now I have to get rid of the Susanoo, and I have to get rid of Little Dread. So now I have only Gilderai to play around with, and he just passes. So I have to put out the Gilderai. I have 4 stones. He just hard casts Void Blast. I sack it with Levitine in response. Again, I could have used my bow to just destroy it and bring it back, which would have been the better option, because then I would still have Gilderai, but it's an uphill battle. And Levitine should actually be untapped, because the sacking of things is what untaps it. So at this point, I know I have to just go in pretty hard with Arla. I know I'm staring down a hard time here. So I tap both, swing in for 1,300. I guess, we discussed it. We realized that I forgot to untap with Gilderay, so I'm actually swinging in for 1500. I'm just going in hard with the Levitine, so 3 Levitine taps. And now Josh is thinking about whether or not he wants to drain. And so what he does is at the end of his turn, he plays 0 to flash in to have a resonator, and then draws, looks at what he's going to draw, and then drains 4. Before the untap. So he's going to crash the 0 in. I'm going to sack the Levitine in response to give Arla Imperishable. Still drawing pretty dead. So try to swing in for another 1100. He takes the damage. Try to play Lancelot. I've got the intention of just trying to pump him up next turn with double little red to put him outside of bow range. Doesn't really work well for me. A quick 800 point swing with the Vlad effect. He just plays Soul Hunt. He gets rid of the only card in my hand, and he gets rid of Lancelot for just 1 cost. So again, I'm back to banking on just Arla. He just passes me. Swinging for another 11. Which he just decides to take. Drains me for another 800. So now it's 18 to 19. You're seeing how this is going very badly for me. And he's only played 1 resonator this whole time. He's just played a 0 this whole entire game. I can't deal damage fast enough because of those Mount Immortals. I'm already seeing that I'm pretty much dead in the water at this point. So play a Snow White. It's down to being a 300, 100. I pump it up to try and deal 500 damage. But again, I try to swing in. He's just gonna Endless Night it in response. Because he doesn't, he might as well at this point. So I sack it to untap Levitine. Try to swing in for 1300. So he uses, he thinks about it. He's actually only going to drain me for 4. So he drains me for 4. Putting him up to 23. And then he's going to take 13. But again, yeah, I'm running out of time here because I've been very low range, I'm in very low range, and he just has so much will to be able to play that like I have to be able to kill him like this turn. It just doesn't seem possible. And the other thing is too, even if I put in a ton of damage, he can just drain in response to give himself a ton of life. So he just drains me for 10. In response to the attack, and then I know that I'm just gonna untap it. He's just gonna drain me again. So there you have it, guys. Let me know what you think of the decks, and deck list will be up this Saturday. So until next time, this is DMO73 signing off.